Yeah, so first of all, welcome. Welcome into the booth. Welcome to us as Huntress. A little bit about who's the weird bearded guy and what do I do. So my focus is on empowering our clients, our folks that work with us, and giving them strategy and best advice on what is security outcomes versus what's some of the hype that's in the industry and what we're seeing that's actually driving some of that, right? Ultimately, before coming here, I was a CISO of a managed service provider based out of Austin, Texas. I'm also on faculty with the University of Texas, working with some mission-oriented organizations through that as well, and through that partnership. So I say all that to frame it as like, this is stuff I actually care about, and this is stuff that's really important to me, especially for some of the underrepresented organizations that need some of the help the most, right? So we're gonna go through a few of these things. We're gonna, dance around not only like what we offer that, solves some of these problems, but more importantly, like what are we seeing as Huntress over and over that is driving some of the real harm versus just some of the noise in the environment. So a lot of this stuff you can find straight from our 2026 cyber threat report. There'll be a QR code at the end of this so you can scan to download that report. I'm gonna touch on some of the highlights. Any one of these with scanners can also digitally scan your badge and email that to you as well, if that's easiest for you. So all of those are possible there as well. I'm a history nerd. I'm more through and through these days than ever. I think we can learn a lot from it. So I'd be remiss if I didn't throw my boy John Adams in here somewhere, right? And this is one of my favorite quotes, actually. So facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or that dictates our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence, right? Why is that applicable to what we're talking about here today? Because the fact is, this is the bottom line, right? The fact is like all of these crazy, wild stories that we see in the news, as a CISO, that's not the stuff that keeps me up at night, right? That is stuff that's going on. I don't want to diminish it. I don't want to claim that that's like fake or anything like that. But at the end of the day, that's not the stuff that we're seeing compromise organizations over and over and over again, right? So the stuff that does keep me up at night is the things that are still impacting the end users. And guess what? The end users and of these organizations are still as vulnerable as they've ever been. Case in point, we see this all the time, right? Multi-factor authentication. We want to make sure that it's there, it's available. However, as we've seen time and time again, it's not an end-all be-all, right? We've seen these bypasses more and more in the wild, and I can tell you firsthand, not only from the data that we have at Huntress through millions of endpoints and identities, but also from firsthand experience, this is becoming the greater threat than anything. We as an industry saw more and more of these types of attacks with token hijacking and everything else. And we saw our good friend ClickFix, right? ClickFix was something, if you're not familiar, that really took everyone by storm. And the first time I saw it, I remember actually chatting in with one of our SOC folks and being like, so wait a second, you're telling me that our end users are copying and pasting this command in there and hitting run and giving it admin? Like that's how we're doing it? Yes, that we're seeing more and more of an influx of these types of attacks on the identity space specifically. Just to throw some statistics in there as it relates specifically to ClickFix, 53.2% of all malware loaded activity that we saw in 2025 was related to this, right? So massive influx that we're seeing over and over as it relates to this threat vector. The other key call out that we've been focused on and that we're seeing repeatedly is RMMs, remote monitoring and management solutions, and mobile device management for that matter. Our good friend Stryker recently in the news made Intune famous for all the wrong reasons. But these tools that allow for automation are being weaponized by attackers. We are seeing this at Huntress through explosive growth, right? Why go and put a C2 instance and all of this architecture and time when I can just load up a RMM that already exists that does it probably better and more automated than any of these others? It's led to some of the mean time to on attacks, right? It's led to that quickly being much more efficient than it's ever been. But again, these numbers are crazy. 277% year over year on RMM abuse, to the extent that with our new product focused around endpoint security posture management, identity security, posture management. That's one of the things that we're really focused on, trying to be one of the key players that are solving that problem. The other kind of thing to highlight here that we've seen over and over again is around like this idea that these organizations and these threat actors are not individuals. These are like real thought out, organized crime, right? Like this is not a one-off where back in the day, the old idea of like hacker in a basement, like no, this is evolved past that. They have their own sales funnels, right? They have their own funnels to be able to do with the end goals, which sometimes that's ransom, sometimes that's exfiltrating data, whatever that case may be, right? So the key takeaway though that I wanted to hammer home here is our competition that we're competing with over and over is not an individual, it's another organization now. I put this slide in here on like notice anything. The key is like we're still seeing basic cybersecurity hygiene, right? It's not the AI crazy god level hacker that's hacking these things. It's still the basics, right? We're still talking about identity security. We're still talking about MFA. We're still talking about business email compromise as those leading vectors. So if nothing else, I would hope that you take that away is like, these are the areas that are still worth us focusing in on. And we at Huntress, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the things that we offer. And I've got a slide to talk a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it's these three areas, right? It's operational readiness, it's identity resilience, and it's endpoint resilience that lead into the comprehensive of how we're protecting against these rising threats. So this slide here, again, this next one, this is like really what hits home to me. I think we as an industry get this wrong a lot. We understand the left-hand side of this. We understand the CIA triad as like security practitioners. We understand it through and through. But operational resilience on the right-hand side, those folks speak a different language. If we're going to cut through the noise and be able to, hopefully one day Bryson get to talk at RSA or otherwise about emerging threats versus threats that have been around for 15 years, we as practitioners need to be better about translating this into the R's that they care about: risk, revenue, and reputation. And we want to be able to foster that conversation as well here at Huntress. So the products that we leverage to be able to do that: endpoint security through managed EDR, identity through managed identity threat detection response, as well as our SIM and our security awareness training. I mentioned also that next month we are debuting our early access into our endpoint security posture management and our identity security posture management as well. So the idea being there that it's not okay to just create a baseline and forget about it. We want to be able to catch when that baseline drifts as well and bring it back into compliance with what's the best practice for the organization to prevent some of these basic attacks.